Are mirrorless cameras good for live streams? What are the pros and cons? Recently, I got a question on one of my YouTube videos about whether or not they should use mirrorless cameras versus the other options out there like broadcast, DSLR, etc. It's really a great question because there are a lot of factors to consider. Now, I'm coming from a smaller church size perspective when it comes to these details. You'll find that I accentuate the ease of use for volunteers and overall usability, price, and quality. This is because in a smaller church, you often don't have a lot of camera operators. This is probably the first pro about mirrorless cameras, ease of use. Now, don't get me wrong, there is something to be said about Sony's weird menus, but there are going to be a whole lot less buttons and it won't be as bulky. I'll go ahead and put usability in this category too. Broadcast cameras will take a little longer to learn how to work in most instances. Let's go on to pro number 2, autofocus. Broadcast cameras are not designed to have great autofocus, at least the ones that I have seen. I'm sure that there are some that do, but that isn't a huge issue if you have camera operators that can pull focus. But often if you have a newer volunteer, they just need to be able to follow the subject, keep them in frame, and not have to worry about the focus. Pro number 3 will be size. Mirrorless cameras will be a lot smaller and easier to carry around. I mean, this is basically the size of my hand. And of course, we'll add on another pro. Pro number 4 is price. Most mirrorless cameras are going to be a lot less expensive than broadcast. But here are a few cons to mirrorless cameras. Con number 1. They aren't really built for live streaming, unlike the broadcast cameras, which have SDI connections and sometimes even XLR ins and outs. It's pretty cool. SDI is basically a better HDMI that can go a lot further than the HDMI limit of about 50 feet. As you can see, this one has HDMI on it. Con number 2. In some cases, they will take more time to set up in the menu when it comes to colors and the overall look. It isn't a huge con because it's worth spending time on that, but often broadcast cameras will come with that, most of it already done. Con number 3, lens options will sometimes be limited depending on how far you are wanting to shoot. Now, for churches specifically, I recommend the 70 to 200 millimeter f2.8 lens for a great distance, or Canon, and I'll leave it linked in the description below, for the look and autofocus capability. But that is about as far as you are going to go at a constant aperture, about 200 millimeter. Often broadcast lenses are built to go further, but don't have that autofocus plus. It's just something to consider. Next, I want you to check out my review of the Sony a6400. It's a great mirrorless camera, and I'll soon release a review video of the awesome Sony a7C, which is what I'm currently shooting on, which is a beast. Thanks for watching. I'll see you later.